The man can't make switching on the Christmas tree lights exciting. He can't make this 5, 4, 3. Yeah, you see, if he counted 1 to 6 instead of down from 5 to 0, it would have worked better. Anyway, his measurable targets to be achieved by spring 2029 and for us to judge him on are as follows. Pay attention at the back, everybody. Raising real household disposable income. So it's not about GDP in comparisons with the G7. They're dropping all that because America's going to do so much better than us. We're going to look really bad. But, I mean, you raise it by a penny. Well done. I mean, but that's not going to make us feel any richer. 75% of children ready for school, primary school, at the age of 4 or 5. I mean, why not 100%? I mean, and also, what you do, you're going into every single home. You're literally going into people's homes and saying, hey, your child needs a bedtime. You need to be reading books to your kid and giving them some broccoli and getting them out of nappies because they're sodding 4.5 years old. Do your job as a parent. That's not going to happen. They're going to fudge that one. Recruiting 13,000 more police officers. Now, it's police officers, special constables and PCSOs, the plastic bombies. Basically, only 3,000 new police that they weren't already going to recruit across an entire country. I mean, you know, you're not going to be seeing this Bobby on the beat. There's talk about this named local police officer who's responsible for your neighbourhood that you can email, that you can call. I mean, look, he's putting his head in his hands. The reality is, I mean, you were saying earlier, actually, that is the case. They already exist in a lot of areas. Yeah. I mean, if I see a police officer in my local area, it's very unlikely.
Well, you don't see them, you have to call them, you know where they are, but there are names, and on the local police website, they're there with their pictures.
But the question is, if someone's not working 3, 6, 5 days, they're out holiday, they go on breaks, they sleep, they don't maybe work, you know, a 7-day week, you know, wouldn't expect that. So you couldn't do that anyway. I mean, it doesn't, But again, there's no point in having loads more police if no one ever gets investigated. Lots of people report crimes to the police, but then they say there's no evidence. Well, there's no evidence because they don't go collect the evidence. And if they do collect the evidence, they lose. I'm sure that's been my experience. And then they don't bother pressing charges. They don't send it to the CPS, and then the CPS doesn't press charges. And even if they do, go to court, get a slap on the wrist. Now you're just going to get a community sentence, we learned this week, and then you're not going to go to prison. So you're back on the streets able to commit crime. I do not understand why there is even any point in having these police officers.
There's one thing that's missing from all these milestones, and that's how. You know, for example, if you want to get kids out of nappies, make sure that they're ready for nappies in school. You ban disposable nappies because
no more banning.
No, but think of all the mothers then who are having to use terry nappies and put them through the.
Can I just say, on behalf of mothers, sod off. No, thank you.
But then you'd very quickly get your kid out of nappies.
But don't penalise the mums who need to have a nappy for their kid. I mean, dads. I know dads do it too.
My mum got me out of nappies very quickly indeed because she had to use them.
I know. Honestly, things that have improved women's lives. People go, the Equality Act, this and that. No. It was the pill, washing machine, supermarkets and disposable nappies. That's it. That's what changed women's lives. The next one is building 1.5 million new homes. That's 250,000 new homes a year. More people than that come to live in this country every year. And even, except that, people don't come district on their own. A lot of them bring their whole families. But we haven't even got enough homes for people who are already here. If you're importing 1 million new people every year, that doesn't touch the side of it. It's the same as the Tory target. I'm sorry, they're not going to do it either. Also, treating 92% of NHS patients within 18 weeks of them being referred by their GP. 18 weeks is 4 months. Treating not even all NHS patients within 4 months, even for serious things. An urgent referral can still mean a 4-month wait for many cancer patients. I'm sorry. I've got my Eastern European cleaner. When she had a cancer referral, she went back to Romania. She was treated within 2 weeks. Operation, everything done. I'm sorry. This is an embarrassment in a first world country. But also the final one, decarbonise the electricity grid by 2030. This is Ed Miliband's mad lunacy. Unachievable, unaffordable, and will keep us in poverty.
See, where I am from the NHS, an urgent cancer referral, because I went through it, was 3 weeks. What was the key word? They're being the word urgent. Urgent, and actually I was seen within 10 days for my first scans, and then that picked up stuff. Another 10 days for the next treatment. Another 10 days.
10 days is still pretty hard
for referral for surgery, and another 10 days I was in surgery. So there's a postcode lottery when it comes to the things across the NHS, and this is where there's all these sound bites that are coming out. There's no how in them, and it's the how that's the important bit. That's what we want to know.
Absolutely. Well, the key thing not in there is immigration. Nothing on illegal immigrants. They're smashing the gangs, stopping the boats and all that stuff. There's nothing about legal migration. Even though Keir Starmer talked about, uncontrolled mass migration, he actually touched on it, even though, of course, secretly, he and his acolytes all absolutely believe in open borders. I know they do. They've made it really clear before. It's a top 3 issue for most voters in this country, including Labour voters, who are also massively affected by this issue. And again, this is not anti the immigrants themselves. Welcome, work hard, that's fine. It's whether or not it's a benefit to this country in terms of cutting wages, competing for public services, housing, public transport places, etc., etc. And this is the key issue. And my question to everyone today is, with Keir Starmer making all these pledges to meet 6 milestones, but not a single pledge on cutting migration, if you're saying these are my priorities, judge me on this, and you don't even mention immigration in this, does that tell you this isn't a priority? And can you really deal with any of these issues if you don't tackle that fundamental issue, which is having a massive impact on us economically, individually, culturally, and every other way? So give us a call, 0344 499 1000, text 87222, get in touch with us at Talk TV, and I'd love to get your calls on air very soon. I mean, Philip, leaving out immigration just says they're just totally out of touch.
Well, I think it's probably an admission that he can't do anything about it. And therefore, all the plans. Whenever Richard Parsaid was talking about it, he mentioned one of the successes as dealing with one of the kingpins who supplies the rubber boats in Europe. That was nothing to do with the government. It was nothing to do with the British involvement. It was, I think, the German police managed to arrest him. But Keir Starmer has said this is evidence of me smashing the gangs. No, sorry. This was stuff that has been going on for months and months and months, if not years beforehand, and it's nothing to do with him. He doesn't know how to deal with it.
Let's also talk about defence issues, because you're an expert on this field. So 2 big stories. One is the Defence Minister, Alistair Cowles, warning that the entire British Army would be wiped out in as little as 6 months if we were drawn into a major conflict, bearing in mind where we are with Ukraine, almost 3 years, in February, fighting that conflict. The Chief of Defence Staff, Admiral Sir Tony Radakin, warning in a speech last night that the world faces a third nuclear age with China's nuclear threat to the West. What do you make of both those stories?
Well, Chief of Defence Staff is completely right. China's been building up its nuclear weapons, had about 500. It's trying to get up to US numbers, which is about 5,000, same as the Russian 5,000, of which 1,700 are deployed. They're on a plan to modernise their military and have been for quite a number of years now. And we're beginning to realise that as a threat when we see their expansionism that they're carrying out in South China Seas, but the way they're influencing into Africa and into South America as well. The numbers game, it's the Diane Abbott School of Mathematics, or Christmas baubles when it comes to that, because you add together our regular army and our immediate reserve forces that are out there, it's just under 100,000. Take the number that Al Cairns himself had talked about, the loss of 1,500 a day. That is 67 days. But actually, if you break that down to the fighting force of the army, 67 days to get rid of everyone.
Including reservists.
Including reservists. Take that down to just the fighting element, that's 22 days.
Because lots of people involved in the logistics and other things.
Logistics and all the support and everything else. Well, they're all trained soldiers, but...
I'm feeling a little bit scared at this point.
We should be. It takes 91 days to train a civilian to be a trained soldier. It takes 26 weeks, which is 182 days, to take a trained soldier and train them as a proper infantry soldier to fight.
And yet we still won't find out until next year when Labour are going to commit to this 2.5% of the GDP being spent on defence. We were far too late on that, and the Tories were late on that. They hadn't achieved that either. But, I mean, it seems to me that doesn't touch the sides of what our needs are. Should we be looking at conscription in this country?
I don't think we should be looking at conscription.
Or at least, but some sort of military service?
We should be...
Many other European countries do it already or are doing it.
We should be planning for it. So it doesn't mean that we need to bring conscription in, but we should be planning for it. But Al Cairns turned around and said mass isn't necessarily the answer, but the reality is mass is, and you also need the equipment, because the equipment's going to last even shorter period of time with what's changing in the battlefield. So we are in dire straits.
We really are.
We're not going to fight alone. But Al Cairns knew that, so his calculations are based on us not fighting alone. It's a lot worse than he brought out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really is. And again, by the way, sometimes we do fight alone. Falklands. It's not that. It's in my lifetime.
Yeah. But that's not the high intensity.
That's not the high intensity. But we were fighting alone. Yeah, but there's a lot of people who pointed out we probably aren't in a position to defend the Falklands if there was an invasion now.
We could do now. Yeah,
just about.
More than just about. No,
okay.
We've got much greater capability.
Well, I mean, actually, it won't be an issue because obviously Keir Starmer will give it away if anyone asks nicely.
Well, exactly.
Keir Starmer is now speaking, but again, remember, I like you more than the BBC and Sky and all that lot like their audience, because I'm not playing it to you live. That's how much I like you, because I would like you to stay awake. Do not operate heavy machinery or drive a motor vehicle when listening to a Keir Starmer speech. There should be warnings. You get warnings. You get, like, you take like antihistamine that says do not operate heavy machinery. They should have that underneath his speeches.
Do we do a countdown for the warning?
Don't listen. 5, 4, 3. No, we're doing it too fast. It was much slower than that for the Christmas lights. Genuinely, I'd play that every single day till the Christmas. The Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, was among sort of a cast of millions at Pinewood Studios. This is where the speech is, introducing the Prime Minister, saying that clearing up the mess we inherited feels like a job for a superhero. I mean, superhero. Well, again, if it's a job for a superhero, he ain't. Can I get into one man who definitely thinks he is, though? Just quickly, because I want to get to a break, because we've got lots of calls coming in on this. France, we didn't get a chance to get your thoughts on where we are with France, having spoken to James Ball. Macron doing a big set-piece speech. He loves his, God, he loves his pompous speeches, doesn't he? This is a man, everyone's, the Metropolitan elite in the rest of Europe are convinced this man is incredibly popular in France because he wins these landslides. No, given a choice between Marine Le Pen for many years and him, he was a landslide. When it's first choice, like of all the candidates standing, he's never garnered more than, I think, 22% of the vote. He's not a popular figure. He's largely derided now by the left and the right. He played a little political game, calling this snap parliamentary election in July. It's gone horribly, tragically wrong. Michel Barnier, his nominee for Prime Minister, he's lasted more than 2 Liz Trusses. To be fair to him, it is the shortest serving French Prime Minister in my lifetime, certainly, just 3 months. He's ousted. He's lost his vote of confidence. Calls for Macron to resign. What do you make of all this? Because they are an important economic ally, security ally, but we are looking at their economy going down the toilet.
It's bigger than just France, because we have to remember that the German government has collapsed effectively as well, and they're going to go into elections next year. We've got the French going into election now. The French can't go into elections because they can't have another election for 12 months. So there's going to be an interim government that's going to come in. There's going to be further political turmoil across France. We're going to see political turmoil across Germany. Those are the 2 biggest economies in the EU. So the impact,
and they're both in basket case territory right now.
Yeah, definitely. So the impact that's going to have on the EU, and therefore whenever it comes to us doing trade with our largest trading partner, but also with Donald Trump coming in and putting additional pressure on the EU. EU countries have just agreed to go to 1.9% of GDP on defence. Now, lots of EU countries are nowhere near that, but the NATO members have signed up for a minimum of 2%. Trump's going to come in and go, sorry,
and
folks.
And quite rightly so
and
as
start
well.
Hitting people hard.
But also, we've got the small point, we actually, do have a war in Europe, and we do have a war in the Middle East. Effectively, we need to be, paying attention to what's going on. And again, things come out of the blue. What happened in South Korea this week? No one, even the State Department in the US, had any idea. That could have gone into something completely different, the turmoil there. And it didn't, thank God, and democracy was safe. But that could have gone horribly wrong. These sort of things can happen, and I just don't think the West is prepared. And if they're all busy, staring at their navels, doing nonsense resets and aren't resets and sounding 6 milestones, or trying to cobble the government together and planning for us to get poorer with higher energy costs and relying on, the sun and the... can you see any sun outside this window? Because I can't see any. The West is genuinely in such a bad state, and I just don't think any of our leaders have got a clue what to do. Meanwhile, you've got the Putins and the Xi Jinpings who are really, frankly, getting their act together and are quite terrifying.
Today is Starmer coming down the steps of Boris Force One, as he liked to call it, waving his paper saying peace in our time.